going on, folks? It's Kish Yardi Gaming Nation. Click the like, click the share. Tell your friends, tell everybody about me. You know what I'm saying? It's a new kid on the block, new king on the block. Let me fix my camera. Let's see if it works. There. All right, so um, the topic of the video is alpha and beta, and how men on YouTube, or sometimes society, or a lot of times society, uses alpha and beta as a way to manipulate the men into accepting something or operating in a certain way that the men don't agree with, or yourself as a man in your own individual life personally don't agree with. Um, First off, right? There's nothing wrong with being a beta, and there's nothing wrong with being an alpha. Because the alpha, when you strip away the ideologies, the religions, the social programming, um, alpha and beta, as it applies to maybe lions in the, well, not maybe, as it applies to lions in the savannah, as it applies to wolves, as it applies to any hierarchy of men or male on the planet, especially with mammals. Alpha basically is the leader of the pack. Basically, the alpha, it enforces the so whatever the pack or the group a main objective or goal is, the alpha is not only the leader of it, but the alpha enforces the rules of that group. And how the alpha becomes the alpha is because the alpha showcases themselves, because alphas, they work hard, they grind hard, they're very intelligent, they're not afraid of failure or confrontation, and they grind to the top of the food chain, right? Um, in the world of animals, when it comes, well, similar to the world of men, the alpha is the biggest and the strongest, whoever can kick the most ass, as far as the basic primitive thing, right? And whoever beats the alpha becomes the alpha. And when it comes to human beings now, alphas can come in all forms, shapes, or sizes, right? Um, you hear stories about uh, Leonidas and the Spartans, where Leonidas, he was an alpha prime. You know what I'm saying? He enforced the rules and regulations of Sparta, and the betas that followed him were willing to follow him to death. Now let's look at that, right? Where you have Leonidas, an alpha prime, and you have the betas, the Spartans that followed him. Leonidas was a bad motherfucker, but so was his betas. The betas were very dominant, very tactical, very intelligent. They fought. Like, look at Mike Tyson. You know, Mike Tyson is a beta with alpha traits, right? He has Mike Tyson has the ability to kick a lot of ass, and he expresses those dominant, aggressive alpha qualities, right? Because his mentor or father like figure in his life, which was Customato, trained him, gave him those alpha traits he could use in the ring. Um, so there's nothing wrong with being a beta, and there's nothing wrong with an alpha, because when men follow other men, or it builds the society we're in right now, right? Men are always going to create structure. Men are always going to provide discipline, law, and order amongst each other. Um, Basically, an alpha, he rolls to the top of that food chain, and when I say he rose to the top of that food chain, is that at once upon a time, he used to be where the betas were at, and he had to, grind in the paint where the betas was at. He had to work like how they work. He had to feel like they feel. So what the alpha basically did is he progressed above the group, right? And so now he knows where the betas were, and now that he's on top of the food chain, he's basically enforcing and making decisions, based on that, right? And then now what the roles that the betas play is that, or the group is that, if the betas have a thing that they believe in, and they found a guy that's very charismatic, very attractive, or very attractive, very charismatic, they'll put that person, that alpha, into play to enforce the rules of the group, right? This is like where you have like like you look at something like the presidency or government, where you have like Donald Trump or Joe Biden or Barack Obama. You know, they would be the alpha of the CEO of company or the CEO of the company. Joe Biden would be the what you call vice president or the beta, which a lot of times is really uh, an alpha or a sigma. We talk about that later, right? Because a lot of times sigmas have no issue playing betas, so long as the alpha is a good business partner or the alpha is doing what they're supposed to be doing, right? So, well, for the sake of argument, we talk about alpha and betas, right? So, right. So basically, the alpha, absentee of ideologies, religions, uh, at the base, the alpha it raises to the top of the group and it enforces the rules of that group, and the betas basically follow that group, right? So, and then now, see, now the betas now, what could happen is if they disagree with the alpha, the betas will group up and get rid of the alpha. We see that with John F. Kennedy. We see that with um, a lot of leaders in our society that were alphas, where the betas of that society didn't agree with something that alpha did, or the alpha went against what societal norms were, and the betas went against that alpha and took out the alpha. You know what I'm saying? An example is with Malcolm X or Martin Luther King, right? So there's that. In the military, right? You have alpha and beta. You have your sergeant, that's the head of your squad. You have the squad members that the sergeant is in charge of, right? And you have a lot of tough ass betas, ass kicking betas, with their that are intelligent, with their own individual thoughts, but they follow the instructions of their sergeant, which is the alpha or the head of the group, right? Now, when you go on YouTube, you look on YouTube now, right? How people are using alpha and beta to manipulate men to accept something or to conform to something or to operate in a certain way on these YouTube streets now, right? Um, they're using it to manipulate men into accepting something or in society or to operate a way in society that the men don't agree with or they don't want to. And if you don't agree with what that person or that individual or that hierarchy of individuals, which is a small group of people, men, say is alpha and beta, those group of people are going to look at you as weak in your masculinity or something is wrong with you. So if you have a guy on YouTube, right, and say he's into polygamy or non-monogamy or whatever he's into, right? For the sake of argument, say he's into open relationship, he's into non-monogamy, or he's into monogamy, whichever one, right? And you don't agree with his philosophy or his ideology, right? He'll say that there's something wrong with you. My fault, folks. My phone, my YouTube streets, right? Um, how cats use alpha and beta to manipulate men to operate in a certain way or to accept a certain thing, right? They use it what's alpha and beta according to what women think or what women believe is alpha and beta. So, for example, if it's a guy that's pushing non-monogamy or polygamy or open relationships, or he wants you to accept a 3 or 4 culture, or he wants to condition you to accept 3 or 4s or chicks for these streets, what he'll say is that it's alpha for you to pick a 3 or 4, or to accept a 3 or 4 in your life, or it's alpha for you to um, it's alpha for you to accept women with bad behavior. It's alpha for you to you basically accept bad women, or it's alpha for you to deal with open relationships, or it's alpha for you to deal with non-monogamy, or it's alpha for you to deal with basically bad women. And it's beta if you call out the bad behavior of women. It's beta if you argue with women. It's beta if you complain about women, because women are going to find you unattractive because you're complaining about women. So that's how a lot of cats use alpha and beta. But just a couple of years ago, before the emergency event or the quarantine event we was doing, it was beta if you didn't call out your women. It was beta if you didn't complain about women. It was better if you didn't call out the bad behavior of women. It was better if you didn't complain about your chick, right? Because now let's go to what a man complaining about things is, right? Um, there's nothing wrong with a man complaining about the bad behavior of the women and how they conduct themselves in your house. Because at the end of the day, you're the head of your house. You're the alpha of your house. You're the head of your community. You're the chief. So when you see your women misbehaving or they're not conducting themselves properly, it's your job and responsibility to hold them accountable and call them out. Which is when you go back to the Victorian age, or even you go back 50 years ago, you go back 20 years ago, um, you were a nice guy, or you were considered a beta or a simp if you didn't call out the women BS, if you tolerated foolishness from the women, if you didn't complain about what the women were doing, because that's what the leader does. A leader instructs, it checks, it critiques, it holds accountable, right? A leader is not about just the leader holding himself accountable and blaming himself, because a lot of times it's not the leader's fault, or nor is the leader the problem. A lot of times it's the environment that's the problem, or it's the women that's the problem, or the source of the issue, right? So as a leader, or as a man, as the Bible says, has given you dominion and responsibility over everything, you're supposed to hold your environment and everything you're in charge of that God has given you accountable, right? And part of that is you got to make a complaint about certain employees. You have to reprimand certain employees. And if the employee keep doing that bad thing, you have to fire that employee, right? So, and two, when you make a complaint, right, it's basically telling women, hey, this is the issue that this is the issue I have with you, and this is what you need to fix to do better so there's no more complaints, right? So when a man is making that complaint, it's basically saying that the women are doing something that that man is not agreeing to, or disagrees with, right? So when men are making complaint and the women are choosing to actively not fix that complaint, or to keep doing the things that the men are complaining about, then you can't say then it's that woman's fault, because she's choosing not to follow the lead of that man. She's going into the opposite direction. If those women really cared about where the men were going, or themselves being attractive to men, they would fix the things that are being complained that the men are complaining about. Just like if you were on a job with your boss, and your boss, or the alpha, or the manager, or that boss has a complaint about you on your job. Maybe you've been showed up to the job too late. Let me say that better. Maybe you showed up to the work late too many times, or maybe you're not wearing the proper uniform at the work, or maybe you didn't clean the toilet properly, or maybe you're having a bad attitude with the customers. So now that boss is going to make a complaint to you, or complain about you, and hold you accountable. And if you care about your job, if you care about being at that workplace, you're gonna fix yourself. You're gonna adjust yourself. You're gonna hold yourself accountable to that man, right? So now, what these guys on the YouTube are saying, and it's really overboxed, to be honest with you, right? The reason why guys on YouTube are using alpha and beta to manipulate men to operate how they feel you should operate, or how they feel is alpha beta, is because if the men are making complaints about the women and their bad behavior, and if according to the objective thought of the men in society is a woman that behaves this way is bad, and those women follow those men, the men that have access to box, the men that have access to 304s, the men that are perverted, the men that basically enjoy hookup culture and sex culture and all these things, they no longer benefit, or they believe they no longer benefit. The reason why I say they believe they no longer benefit is because you can't stop a hoe from being a hoe, right? You can't stop a 304 from being a 304. You can't stop a chick from being bad. You can't stop a woman from being who she is if that's what she is, right? Now, when a man is shaming bad behavior, right, it's basically saying, like I said, but complaining is that he does not agree with that behavior that the woman is conducting herself in, right? So if the men keep complaining and then substantiates that argument, and then right, make a complaint, substantiate that argument, and then you look back at the women, you look back in the environment, you say, okay, cool. This is a valid complaint right here. And then now, if the women are choosing not to fix those complaints, or they're choosing not to do what they need to do to fix themselves up or step up their game so that the men have nothing to complain about, then it's those women that doesn't want to follow the leadership of those men, right? Uh, and what the guys on YouTube are doing, they're saying if you don't complain about the body count, if you which I kind of do believe that it's a goofy question in certain contexts, because when it comes to the context of how a woman treats you, how she respects you, her personality, her characteristics, you can't really use the body count to measure that, because there are 304s that treat you better and respect you better than regular chicks out here who are not 304s, and vice versa. So you can't really use the body count to measure that. Um, um, Now you can say that according to a chick's certain body count, you don't want to wife that up because the man, he's the reflection of that relationship, and the type of woman he gives access to, that's going to be a reflection of what he chose. Which I disagree and I agree with that at the same time, but I get into that maybe at a later point in the show, right? But what the guys are saying that if you're alpha, if you think this way, or if you're beta, if you don't do this, and it's all according to what women find unattractive or attractive, which is goofy because at the end of the day, that's you following what the woman wants and likes. That's not you as a man being yourself and stating what you like or the type of woman. So let me slow down and say it like this, right? When you're dictating your masculinity according to what women find unattractive or attractive, you're following the woman. If she's being now, how it's supposed to go is you, the man, is supposed to be attractive or unattractive to yourself or attracted to yourself. That woman is supposed to follow your lead or adjust to you or adapt to you. And she's supposed to be attractive to you or and not be so basically she's not supposed to be what's unattractive to you. And she's supposed to be attractive to you. She's supposed to be doing that. She's supposed to be unattractive or attractive to qualify for a man's leadership, right? You're not supposed to dictate your masculinity or adjust your masculinity to be attractive or unattractive according to the women. Maybe I could say that better. Let me see if I could say that better. Right. Okay, so like this. Let me say it like this. right? Um, you're not supposed to deal with women that find you unattractive, right? And you're not supposed to dictate your masculinity or your principles or your belief systems or your ideology based upon what that woman finds unattractive. Because you're not supposed to follow or adjust to a woman. That woman is supposed to adjust to you, right? So she has to be she can, in order for her to qualify for your masculinity or to qualify to work at your organization or to qualify for your leadership, she has to be the one to worry about what's unattractive or what's attractive to a guy. Because at the end of the day, women are supposed to follow the lead of men. They're supposed to follow the structure, the infrastructure, the guidelines, and the rules that the men set. And by you following by you adjusting your masculinity, your ideology, your principles, what you say, what you shouldn't say, according to what a woman finds unattractive, that is you following that woman. And that's what I don't like about these guys when they say what's alpha and what's beta, according to what women think is unattractive. The women think is unattractive. Now, let me get into that, right? Now, at its base, when you go to a base human, you separate the ideologies, you separate religion, you separate race, go to a base form of what a human being is to be. Like, go back to Adam and Eve, right? At its base, there's certain things about a man that a woman does find attractive, right? His dominance, his aggression, his authority, his straightforwardness, his constant motion, right? And the things about a woman that a man finds attractive, a woman that's submissive, that's respectful, that's agreeable to him. Remember, agreeable to him, follow his lead, um, consistent, right? Same thing. She likes a man at his base that is also consistent, right? So at its base, when it comes to nature, you're watching lions and monkeys, or you're watching wolves, right? At its base, a man to woman, a woman's going to be attracted to the guy that's dominant, that's aggressive, that's has authority, that's consistent, that's big, that's strong. And male lion is going to respect or be attractive to, or male period is going to be attracted to a woman that is submissive, that is respectful, that is ladylike, that respects him, and that's agreeable to where he's going, right? Now, when you add the ideologies, right? Now, ideologies could dictate your belief system or your perception, and your perception is your reality, right? So now, if I'm a guy and I'm into monogamous relationships, and I set the standard that I do not want a woman who I'm ultimately going to marry that's for the streets or 304, of course those women are going to find me unattractive because my ideology is not the same as their ideology. A woman that's a 304, her ideology is she's a 304. A woman that's for the streets, her ideology that is she is for the streets. A woman that's into hookup culture, sex culture, um, and in these extreme lifestyles, alternative lifestyles, open relationships. If I say, as a man, how I want to run my relationship and what I allow access to my masculinity or to my relationship is, I only allow chicks that are good women, that cook, clean, that are submissive, and they're not 304s. And they so basically, if I say I only allow good women over here, and I define a good woman by a chick that cooks, clean, that's respectful, that respects me, that is treats me good, loves me, and respects me. And then I say I don't allow a woman that's a 304 into the hookup culture or for these streets, or she's into open relationships or whatever. Of course, those women are going to find me unattractive, right? Because I have a standard for myself, and I set a standard in which those type of women don't have access to me. So now, If you have these guys on YouTube saying you're beta if you think this way, because if you move this way, or you complain about women, or you hold women accountable, or you complain about women that's for these streets, or you complain about 304s, or you call out the bad behavior of women, women are going to find you unattractive. Well, guess what? If I call out a 304, I call out the bad behavior of women. If I hold women accountable, if I call out the women for these streets, the only women that's going to find me unattractive are the women that's for these streets, or the 304s, or the women that misbehave, or the women who don't want to be held accountable. But the women who are not 304s, the women who are not for these streets, the women who are not Instadots, the women who are not OnlyFans models, basically the good women, they're not going to find a problem with me because they agree with what I say. And they're going to find me unattractive because we're on the same mental, we're on the same mindset. We have the similar mindsets. We're on the same level of the game. Right? So, of course, if you're a man and you're traditional, or you're just a man, you're not traditional, you're not new age, you're just a man with morals, values, and certain principles, right? That you set for yourself, right? Okay, somebody in my driveway that you set out for yourself, right? Of course, according to your standard and your principles, if you speak them, that woman is not going to find you attractive because she doesn't have access to you. So what that woman is going to do is use manipulation tactics to shame you for not allowing her into your space. So she's going to say you're insecure because you're not secure, you're masculine enough, or you're not secure in your leadership enough to pick a 304 or to allow a chick into your life or into your house that you don't agree with or you don't want. Right? Now, if the women were smart, they just would not be the thing that the women say that the men say they don't want. And that would be the women adjusting to the men. But instead, what you have these guys on the internet that are into hookup culture, sex culture, they're into alternative lifestyles, they may be into non-monogamous relationships, they may be into open relationships. What they're doing is they're using the concept of what alpha and beta is to manipulate you guys into accepting something you don't agree with but you don't want. I don't respect that about how men do that because they're basically using female manipulation tactic, that's one, and they're using that to condition the men to adjust to the women, what women find unattractive or attractive. And you really can't depend upon what women find attractive or unattractive because, as I said earlier, ideologies would dictate your perception, and perception would dictate your reality. Right? So, and women's reality, women's ideologies change every day. You know what I'm saying? Women are very subjective, and they move with their feelings, and their feelings move with the mood, the weather every day. Every day, a woman's unattractiveness or attractiveness is going to change. Today, she's going to find light skinned cats good looking or attractive or unattractive. Tomorrow, she's going to find dark skinned guys attractive or unattractive. Literally. If you want to see a clear example of this, look at the black community. In the black culture, black women find good, honest black men who don't gangbang, who don't hug the block and sell dope, who are consistent, who believe in monogamous relationships, who want to commit to a woman. They find those guys to be lame, cornballs, or suckers. But the men who are into gangbanging and thugging and all that other stuff, the black women are more into those guys. Those are the real men according to black women. So I want to say this to y'all. In black culture, the version of masculinity that gets condemned and judged are the black men that choose not to gangbang, who choose not to sell dope or weed, not to put his life or his freedom at risk Those versions of black masculinity are lame, boring, cornballs, and suckers, according to what black women say. And because black men in the black community are so thirsty for box, they follow the tune of their women. That's why me personally, I can't really trust a lot of black men when it comes to defining what masculinity is, because a lot of black men define masculinity according to what the women benefit from, or according to what is supposed to be due according to the women, instead of what's doing for themselves or just being. Right? There's no objective definition of what masculinity is in the black culture, to where even a pimp, player, Mac, traditional guy, monogamous guy, non-monogamous guy, polygamous guy, or any version of masculinity can all look at this objective thought of what masculinity is and agree with it. That doesn't exist in the black culture. Black culture's masculinity is agreed upon based upon what the women say is masculinity, or what a real ninja is, or what a real man according to what black women say. That's why I cannot really follow black men. And then you have brothers on the internet that have dibble-dabbled into sex culture or alternative lifestyle or lifestyles outside of black culture, right? And now they're trying to condition men to follow these things, other black men to follow these things by using alpha and beta, right? So let me set it up like this, right? Say society A is Christian and society B is Muslim or Islam. Christianity is going to have its alphas and its betas. Islam, or being a Muslim, is going to have its alphas and betas. And what's alpha and beta in Christianity is going to be dependent upon that ideology over there. What's alpha and beta in Islam is going to be subjective to what's alpha and beta according to Islam or Islamic culture. So now if an alpha crosses over here into Christianity, his alpha is going to conflict with this alpha over here, because it's two different ideologies clashing. So that's what you see on YouTube. You have cats that have dibble-dabbled into, or they're involved in, hookup culture or sex culture. And then you have alphas that are not involved in hookup culture or sex culture. So you have those two alphas, or a lot of times there's sigmas up there. So a lot of times on YouTube, you see sigmas or alphas clashing with each other. A lot of times you see alphas clashing with sigmas, a lot of the times. Because with a sigma, he's not going to tolerate the foolishness from anybody. Alpha, he'll tolerate the foolishness from women. You know what I'm saying? And what happens in society is that what the women will do is they'll give box to the alpha, because women notice. Women will sit there and they observe who the alphas are in society, and they'll give access of a box to those alphas in society, and then those alphas will enforce an ideology, a certain ideology that the rest of society doesn't believe in, because he's being validated based upon how much box he's getting. A sigma is going to see through the bullshit. The sigma is going to go like, nah, I ain't going for that. Right? As sigma is going to be like, nah, you're supposed to complain about your chick. Just because you get box, don't mean the hoes respect you. Don't mean that they agree with you. They could just be giving you box. These alphas box to fool the rest of the population. To fool the, let me slow that down. The women can be given an alpha box, and then the alpha could be enforcing an ideology to trick the rest of you men to follow that alpha, because he has access or success with getting box. But women can play that tactic and give this guy a certain box to fool the rest of the dudes. And now what a sigma is, because he doesn't tolerate the goofiness or foolishness with anybody, he's going to say, nah, that ain't right. And that's why Sigmas kind of upset everybody. And they kind of upset the Alpha. Because the Alpha cannot get a Sigma to do something that the Sigma doesn't want to do. Right? Or he's not going to get the Sigma to follow something that the Sigma doesn't agree with. So that's what's going on YouTube. That's what's going on in society, where the cats on YouTube, they're using alpha and beta, and because they have access to box, it would appear, because if you complain about women or you're judgmental of women, or that this is the reason why they get access to box, because they don't complain about women, they don't judge women, they don't hold women accountable, and this is the reason why they get access to box. Well, in my experience, in my life, and I will argue with a chick, I will complain about a chick if you're doing something. I'm not going to complain about a chick if you're doing what's right. But if you're doing something wrong that I disagree with, I'm going to complain about it. I'm going to hold you accountable. I'm going to argue with you. That has never stopped me from getting access to box. A lot of the men that I know, that I hang around, it's never stopped them from getting access to box. Right? So the whole concept of, women found a guy unattractive if he argues with women, or if he complains about women, or if he calls out women's bad behavior, or he holds women accountable, it's bullshit. Because the only women that's going to disagree with a guy like me, whose ideology is, I don't mess with 304s, or I don't wife up 304s, or I don't wife up chicks for these streets, or I don't wife up bad women. The bad women that fit that criteria are the only ones that's going to find me unattractive, or disagree with me, or just don't like me. But the women who can adjust to that criteria, or fit to what's a good chick's criteria, they can, they will agree with me, or they will find me unattractive, right? Same goes for the guys who are into non-monogamy or into open relationship. If it's a chick that doesn't agree with what they're saying, that chick is going to find them unattractive. Because women are very subjective. And not every woman is the same, right? Not every woman thinks the same. Like women don't have an objective, definitive thing of what a woman is supposed to be, right? And what women like to do is they like to play in the realm of subjectivity. And when you're playing in the realm of subjectivity, they can flip, flop, go all the way around. And I see that's what the guys on YouTube are doing. That's why the guys on YouTube, they like to play around with what's alpha and beta. And they like to use female manipulation tactics, like tell a guy he's insecure because he doesn't want to accept a 304. If you know what I'm saying? And I really don't like that. Because part of masculinity is to be straightforward and direct about what you're offering, what's your game, what you believe in, what's your intentions. And if other people don't agree with you, you leave those people alone. It doesn't mean that the other people are weak or insecure. It doesn't mean that you yourself are insecure or weak. It just means that you disagree with them and they disagree with you. But now when you go as far as to use a manipulation tactic now, like you're insecure, you're alpha or you're beta if you think this way, or if you think this way, you say something like this, it's going to find women unattractive. When the women are supposed to adjust themselves and be attractive according to what the men say, according to what the men's foundation are, according to where the men lead. And if men say, well, when I go to wife, I'm not going to wife up this type of woman, instead of the women hold themselves accountable and say, okay, cool, if we want to get wifed up, we're not going to be this. Instead of what the women do is they shortcut and cheat the game. They are 304s within their 20s. And what they do is, after they're done with the 304 lifestyle, they try to get into, or they get into a relationship a lot of times with suckers or men that don't know any better. That's what happens, right? So a lot of those women, a lot of those women right there, they shortcut the game. So I would respect a woman more. And I made this in a prior live video that I made. Right, the prior live video I made, I said I would never respect a 3 or 4 that lies, right? I would respect a woman more if she said that 15 or 10 years ago she was a 3 or 4, and she recognized that she was wrong with what she was doing, and she held herself accountable. She changed up her life, and then 50 years after that, she is a new person. I would respect the chick if she came up to me honest and said that to me then, because as a man, I'm going to be honest, right? Because that's what women ask men to be, honest and straightforward. But they themselves are not honest and straightforward. They themselves set standards for the men that they themselves are not following, which is ridiculous for women to be setting standards for men when the men are supposed to be setting the standards for the women to follow. That's why I don't like when guys preach subjective ideologies of what's unattractive or attractive according to women. No, what's unattractive or attractive according to men. And when you get into what's unattractive or attractive according to men, now it puts the magnifying glass onto the women. It says, hold on, if the men find this unattractive, but you're being what's unattractive, or you're being what's unattractive to the men, then it's your fault that you're choosing to be a thing that the men find unattractive. That's why you're not getting access to a relationship. So now it puts the spotlight on the women. And now when the men are making a complaint and they call out the bad behavior, that's the man's leadership saying, I disagree with how the women are acting. And he's supposed to. Because at the end of the day, the women are part of the community. The women are part of society. And the women are benefiting from the fruits of male or man leadership. So as long as the women are going to be in his house, eating his food, it's his job to hold her accountable. And she must be held accountable. Now, I want to go into something. There's a cliche talking point where it says that women follow the lead of men, right? Which is true to an extent, because just as a woman can follow the lead of a man, she can unfollow the lead of a man, or she can rebel against his leadership, or she can go against his leadership, or she can usurp his leadership. In order for a woman to say that she's following the lead of men, she would have to be following the instructions and the guidelines and the rules that men set. Back in the day, like you go 50 years ago, or you go into the Victorian age, the men, or even into modern day, because you still hear men say it, right? You'll have traditional guys saying, well, I'm not going to wife up a 3 or 4. And if you are a 3 or 4, you're not going to get access to my traditional masculinity, right? But what do women do? Do women follow that rule? No. Women break that rule. Women break the rule of saying, okay, I'm not going to be a traditional chick. I'm going to be a 3 or 4, and you have to accept me being a 3 or 4. That's what the women are doing. That is not the women following the lead of men. That is called the women going against the leadership of men. Right? Now, the other thing too, when they say, oh, Yardi Gaming, Yardi King of Kiss Yardi Gaming Nation. That's my name. What's up, Magnus? You didn't see my name before you entered the thing? My name is in the title of the thing. Right? So now we have to review of looking at when we say women follow the lead of men. It's not just that surface level talking point, right? And you have to say, what's the context? Because if a chick is not interested in that guy, or she's not agreeable to that guy, she's not going to follow that guy's leadership. She's going to either follow her own influence, or she's going to follow herself and follow something else. When you guys enter the room, click the like, click the chat. If you enjoy what I say, donate. Magnus, my name is Kiss Yardi Gaming Nation. That's my name. Should have saw it before you entered the thing, but that's okay. Right? So, right. especially if this woman has choice and free will, right? And women don't, and again, women are free to follow whatever influences they believe in. So women follow other women too. That's why you have a feminist movement. That's okay. I'm just starting. I feel bad for you that I'm no. That's okay. No, that's good. Like this is how you start from the ground up, right? So our audience is an audience, right? So I'm cool. I'm cool about that. Um, this is masculinity right here. Masculinity is built from the ground up. So when you begin, you might have one person, you might have two people, but eventually, as you pick up steam, you gain more followers. Now, if you want to not only be the only one in the chat, share, like, subscribe, so that the algorithm on YouTube can pick me up and I can get more people in the chat to hear what I'm talking about over here, right? So back to the what I was saying. Now, when it comes to women following the lead of men, right? In order for her to follow the lead of that man, she has to be agreeable to his organization or his company or his program or his frequency. If she's not agreeable to that, she's not going to follow you. It's the same rule of thumb for you guys that approach women, right? Women know that they're interested in a guy or they want to follow a guy before he approaches her and asks her for her number. If she's not interested in that guy or she doesn't want to follow that guy, she's going to reject that guy and not give him her number. So women know what guy they want to follow before when they approach them. So it's not just that surface level. A woman is going to follow a man's leadership. Why is that? Because women are very subjective, right? So and then this other thing is that women are going to follow what they find is sexually attractive or who they like, or again, what I say, what's agreeable to. So as long as you have those components about women that's there, then you can't look at it surface level and say that objectively that women are following the lead of men. You have to ask her, what guy is she following? Just like if you ask a street nigga that was a blood or a crip, who's his OG? Or what set he's riding? Or you go to an employee, or you go to the military. What military branch did you, what military branch did you follow? What organization did you follow? It's the same thing with women. You have to ask that woman, what man told you that, or what man are you following? And in today's society, women follow their own influences. A lot of times, women follow themselves, right? A woman's going to respond to herself and say, is this the best place for me to follow, or is this the best place for me to do? So before she responds to a guy or she follows a man, she's going to respond to herself first, because women are not stupid. I don't know what you guys on YouTube think, right? Women are not dumb. They're you know what I'm saying? The feminist movement proves it. If a woman is intelligent enough to watch an alpha, and they can trick an alpha by giving him access to box, and they can use that alpha to trick the rest of these dudes, then that's intelligence. So to sit there and say that it's just cut and dry, that women follow the lead of men, you're out your fucking mind, right? Now, is it true that they do? Yes. They do follow the lead of men, but it's not just that simple. It's not that just surface level. It's deeper than that. Right? So, right. So, now, it's still on the men to determine how the women have to qualify to be able to follow that leadership. Just like if you were a Marine, or you were the Army, or you were a Navy SEAL, you have to tell people what they have to do, or put them through a boot camp to be able to qualify to be a part of the Army, to be a part of the Navy SEALs, or to be part of the Marines. Same thing with every other organization on planet Earth, right? You have to follow the rules and the guidelines and the boot camp training to qualify to be here. Even before you get to the application, when you go sign up for your job application, the job application tells you um, this is what you got to do or what you need to do before you are able to qualify for this job. So it's up to the men to tell the women how they to qualify. The issue is that the women are complaining about what they need to do to qualify, and the women already know what the guys don't like or certain men don't like or what they do like, but the women choose to do everything against what the guys say they like. So that is not following a man's leadership. That's going against or rebelling. Because as long as women are intelligent and they have choice and free will, they can choose to follow you or not. And if they choose not to follow you, that's on them. That is not your fault. Right? So it's like I hate how cats on YouTube talk or speak because it's a lot deeper than just a lot deeper than a woman does follow the guy. Now, if you want to take it back to the Victorian age, and you want to take it back to before the Victorian age, like if you want to go back to more barbaric times, like maybe the Vikings or maybe like feudal Japan, well, of course those women followed those men because the women had no choice. It was either follow the most dominant, strongest man, or you as a woman, you were going to die or fall victim to the wilderness. Well, in today's day and age, now that we're more civilized and women have more opportunities in the workforce, they don't have to follow. They don't. Is that it's not like they have no choice but to follow a guy. They have a choice. Now, in today's society, because women can get a lot of things on their by themselves or on their own, they have a choice whether they want to follow a guy or not. Which, well, this is Western culture, because even in places like Japan and Vietnam and places like Korea or places like Europe. Well, not so Europe. Europe is more has become more liberal, and so is Australia. But places like Japan, China, Korea, right? I got. Thank you. Hope you have a wonderful day too, Magnus. Click the like, click the share, and subscribe. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for your drop by. But in places like Japan, right? And I think Japan is a capitalist society. They still have women are still able to work and do a lot of things, but those women still follow their men. But in Western culture, that's not how that goes. When you have so many influences that the women are following, whether it be feminism, whether it be like so let's talk about the environment now, right? A lot of times within the environment, whether it be from TV, religion, uh, hookup culture, rap, entertainment, whatever's in the environment, a lot of times that environment can influence or cultivate a certain type of person. So as long as that influence in that environment is not molding, just like how you have a seed and you plant it into the dirt, and based upon the nutrients of the dirt, that's what you're going to yield in the crop. It's the same thing with beings and with women. So with human beings and women. So as long as you have these different influences clashing with each other, it doesn't give women a clear thing to follow. They're going to follow whatever they believe or resonates with them, even if it's a guy or not, right? So that's the thing I have when guys get up on YouTube and say, women are responding to men or women are just going to follow guys. It's not always true because if she disagrees with that guy or she finds that guy unattractive, she's not going to follow him. And even if she does follow a guy that's unattractive or she doesn't agree with, she's going to be disrespectful to him, right? And even though I agree that a guy has to check that disrespect, you must ask that chick, why the hell did you follow a guy that you did not agree with from the beginning or you found unattractive? Why did you waste that guy's time? Why did you pretend? Why did you put on the front? If you did not follow that guy or put yourself in a position that guy would never have chose you. So when guys say, well, you chose that chick, well, guess what? She could choose me too. You don't just choose a chick and she just follow along with you. No, she has to choose you too. So why did this chick, even though I chose her, why did she choose me if she found me unattractive or she didn't like me? Why did she choose to follow me if she never liked me in the first place? If she never liked me in the first place, she should have told me day one, hey, I'm not attracted to you. And I would have never picked her. She should have never gave me her number when I approached her. Right? And some of you are going to say, well, a lot of times when these guys approach these guys approach women by saying they're going to take them out on dates, or they do the whole. I watch how guys approach. They'll do the whole friend zone shit, or they go to build rapport. Well, chicks reject those guys too. Chicks reject niggas that sound like gold diggers. Chicks reject guys that sound like friend zone niggas. Chick reject guys that could be a potential trick. No, so it's not just surface level like you bird brains out there that say, "Oh well, a guy chose you. You chose to be in a relationship with this person." No, she chose to be in a relationship with me too. I could choose her all day long, but if she don't choose me back, there will be no relationship. And that's like if she could choose me all day long. If I don't choose her back, there will be no relationship. Relationship takes two people, one leading and one following. And if this person did not want to follow me, why did she choose to follow me? That's the question. You cannot put that all on me. You know what I'm saying? Especially in the black culture or the black community where the black women are choosing not to follow the dudes. Black women are doing everything against what the black men say they like or what they dislike or the type of woman they're looking for. They say everything against that. Or the women do everything against that. So but anyway, that's my thing about with these guys on YouTube, and this is coming from the men. This is me talking to the men now, right? About them using alpha and beta as a manipulation tactic to get the men to accept something or conform to something or to operate in a certain way that's agreeable or attractive according to the women. And if you're doing that, you're following the women. When the women are supposed to be, when you're supposed to be talking to the women, and the women are supposed to be doing things that's attractive to the men and not do the things that's unattractive to the men. Because at the end of the day, the women are supposed to follow what the men like or what the men find attractive and don't do what the men say they don't like or what the men find unattractive. So a lot of these guys on YouTube that do that, a lot of y'all are simping, low key. Because the rest of you dudes, you want box so bad, you're going to do what they say to get box. And that's why I don't trust a lot of cats on YouTube. The moment you say you have to be A, B, and C, and D, according to what women found attractive or unattractive, right there I lose. No, let me rephrase that. Right. Let me rephrase that one. Let me make sure I think about that before I say it. All right. Because here's the thing with me, right? I agree to an extent that the men have to be a certain way with himself, or he has to be a certain way to be able to attract women. As far as your appearance, as far as how you look, how you dress. But at the same time, the women have to be a way in order to be attracted to the guys. Right? What I dislike now is when we drop ideologies into it. Like if we were operating on the base, absent of ideologies, absent of religion, race, it was just the basic nature, natural things, okay, right? The women are gonna follow the most dominant, aggressive dudes, and the men are gonna pick the women who are more respectful, submissive, and agreeable. Cool. But now, when you're a guy and you're coming from hookup culture or sex culture or trying to lifestyle, and you're trying to tell the guys that you must be alpha or beta according to this, that's what I disagree with, right? Because the women who disagree with that kind of lifestyle, they're not going to do that. They might follow a guy that's monogamous, or they might follow a guy that's traditional. Because guess what? Me personally, I don't have an issue with a player pimp or a Mac. I don't have an issue with a Pookie or Ray Ray. I don't have an issue with a cat that's coming from prison. Every man has a right to, after, be who they want to be. Or if you come from prison, you have a right to say, okay, I cleaned up my life and I moved on. The same thing, I feel the same thing away about a woman that was a 3 or 4 or 15 years ago, right? So long as she's honest about what she's doing, just like the guy should be honest about how he's leading. So I don't have an issue with the environment. I have an issue that when guys on YouTube try to manipulate guys using alpha, beta, or your insecure or female manipulation tactics to get the condition of men to be attractive to a lower class of women just because you like to play in that field of women, right? So that's my only issue that I have with it. You know what I'm saying? But ultimately, I have no issue with a man first being attracted to himself and being the top tier for himself, and at the same time attracting women to him, right? I have no issue with that, right? Because my thing is that if that's what you're going to do, you have to tell that woman, hey, I'm already this. If I'm going to be this way, you have to be that way, right? So I have no issue with that dynamic. What I have an issue is that now, if I got to be a certain way to attract a certain type of chick, well, I don't want to attract those certain type of chicks. I don't want to attract a 304. I don't want to attract a hoe. I don't want to attract a chick for these streets. And I'm a nigga from Brooklyn. And I know a lot of niggas from Brooklyn and Queens and Harlem that come from a certain environment that say, yeah, even though we came from that environment and that's what we saw, I don't agree with that environment. You know what I'm saying? So that's my issue. Thank you for the hearts. Click the like, click the share, tell your friends about me. Get me out there into the algorithm. What's going on, Marcus Gaming? Get me out into the algorithm. Not only do I post videos about gaming, I also do videos like this where I go deeper into my mentality and what I think about of the world, what I think about certain things on YouTube, whether it be the manosphere, a little bit of dating, even though I'm not a dating coach. So I don't put me in that category. Um, but yeah, I talk about everything aside from just gaming or anime. You know, so yeah, click the like, click the share, get me out there into the YouTube algorithm. Shout out to you, Marcus Gaming. Check out my live feeds. Um, as I get a better setup, I'm going to give you guys better quality. I'm trying to work on, turning my basement into a gaming room so that I can stream my gaming and at the same time, um, give you guys better quality content. Now, check this. I'm a boss. So the boss is going to tell you how to move and tell you what to do. You don't tell the boss what to do. Period. So, but yeah, just what I don't like about YouTube Spaces. Now, I can agree with the alpha and beta thing if it was to get the men back in line according to what masculinity say, not according to what women say. You know what I'm saying? Um, but yeah, a lot of cats on YouTube use words like you're insecure or alpha and beta to manipulate guys to accept certain ideologies or things that those guys may not agree with. Now, I don't try to get men who are into open relationships or who want to be players or max or non-monogamy. I don't try to convince those guys to follow monogamy or whatever. I don't even try to. I don't even shame the chicks that want to follow those guys. And I don't shame everything about a 304. I only shame a 304 that be lying. I only shame a woman that's living a 304 lifestyle if she's now going to lie to a good, honest man, lie to this guy, and pretend to be something she's not for him to choose her, knowing that that's not what this guy like. That's the only time I'm going to shame a 304 or shame any type of woman if you're doing something that you're in the wrong for doing. I'm not going to shame a woman for a woman when she's doing something right or she's being honest or straightforward about who she is or she's not bothering anybody. I don't just shame women like that for no reason. If I come out and I hold a woman accountable and I shame a woman for bad behavior, it's because she did something bad. I'm not just going to shame you for no reason, right? I don't have an issue with 304s. I don't have an issue with players, max and pimps. I don't have issues with the chicks for these. Well, I have issues with chicks for these streets. Okay. The only thing I have issue is that when these people lie about who they are and then put on a front and then we blame the person for picking that person, but we don't look at the person and ask the person, why did you pretend to be something and not for that guy to pick you? Because it's not always the man's fault. All the time. Now, just because it's not always a man's fault doesn't mean that as men you shouldn't hold yourself accountable. No, you should hold yourself accountable. You should do the things as a man is necessary to do to protect yourself and make sure that you're not the problem. Right? As a man, you have to do that. Always hold yourself accountable. But that does not take away from the bad behavior of women. Because women are going to misbehave and be bad and do goofy shit regardless if a man is involved in her life or not. Thank you a lot, Marcus Gaming. Go ahead and sub and put me out there. So what I'm saying, you can critique and hold women accountable and at the same time not hate women. You can chew bubble gum and walk at the same time. And part of being male leadership is you have to be judgmental of people. You have to be judgmental of the men. You have to be judgmental of the women. As a boss or as a man, period, whether you're a boss or you're just the head of your own household or you're just leading yourself, you have to be judgmental of the people, places, and things that are in your environment. And you have to judge them accordingly so you know how to move accordingly. Right? You have to be judgmental of women because at the end of the day, if you allow a chick that's disagreeable to you into your house, it's your house and it's going to be your fault. So you have to be judgmental of women. The only women that don't like a man's judgment, a man's doesn't like a man's judgment, is the women that don't fit the criteria of that man or fit the criteria of what that man is asking for. That's the only woman that's going to fear a man's judgment. See, me being judgmental of women, that doesn't affect my dating lifestyle or my dating life. Or me being judgmental of anybody, it doesn't affect me. Why? Because me being judgmental of the people in my surroundings, it's going to protect me because I'm going to move accordingly. Right? So if I'm judgmental of 304s, if I'm judgmental of bad women, if I'm judgmental of chicks for these streets, the only women that's going to be upset with me is those chicks that are that. Bad women, 304s, and chicks for these streets. Right? So me being judgmental is not affecting my dating life. It's affecting the women's dating life because they're not going to have access to the type of dudes because they don't meet the criteria that those guys are asking for. So I hate when cats get on the internet and say, and like to gaslight the men and say, oh, if you're being judgmental of a woman, it's going to affect your dating life. No, it's not. It's going to affect her dating life. You know what I'm saying? So, that's what I don't like about these YouTuber guys. They like to use female manipulation tactics, which to manipulate men to doing what women like or dislike. I don't like that at all. Now I get it if you're saying that um, objectively you have to be, this, that, and the third. Um, to attract a certain woman to you, objectively, I'm saying outside of the ideology, outside of what's beta and alpha, you just have to be this certain type of guy to attract a certain type of chick. If you want this type of traditional woman, you have to be this type of traditional guy, right? And if you're this type of traditional guy, you're only going to attract certain type of chicks to you. I can agree to that, right? Or if you're a player or you're a Mac, and you say, oh, if you want this type of chick, you have to be this type of guy right here to attract these type of chicks over here, right? And then now you're speaking objectively. You're not forcing your ideology onto other men. You're speaking from your pulpit. And if the guys disagree with you, they move along. If they agree with you, they stay and take your advice. Like me, for example, I have my ideology of what a man is supposed to be, but I'm not going to force that on other groups of men or try to tell the other men that there's something wrong with you if you don't agree with me. You don't have to agree with my definition of what a man is, right? You don't have to. So I'm not going to look at somebody else and say, "Yo, you're insecure," or "you're alpha and beta." I might say you're wrong, or you're a goofy ass person for that. But I'm not going to sit up here and play with your masculinity and say you're not a real man because you disagree with me. No, we're just two real men that have certain stances and certain principles, and we just disagree with each other. Period. You know what I'm saying? You agree with messing around 3 or 4s. I disagree with that. You're cool with staying here and dealing with Western women as far as poison as they are. I'm not cool with that. Another guy might say, yo, I'm not going to sit up here and deal with Western women and the bullshit they bring. I'm going to go take my passport and find better options somewhere else. Because what a real man is, let me say what a real man is. A real man is going to do what's in the best interest in his masculinity that he feels the best for him. And as a man, you got to do what's best for you, regardless of what I say or another person say. Or what other men say. Because what other men are not supposed to be doing, they're not supposed to tell a man how to live his life. He can suggest certain things to you. He can, or if you can ask another man for ideas and for suggestions, right? But, you know what I'm saying? That other men are not supposed to tell other men how to live their lives or tell other men what to do. You're supposed to know better than that. Now, for you fellas, mind you, if you're going to go into another man's class or you're going to go into another man's structure, remember, you're asking that man to give advice, so you have to respect that man whose advice you're giving to. That's how the world of the hierarchy of men operate. If you're going into a man's classroom or you're going to a man's YouTube channel and you're seeking advice, he's going to give you advice based upon his ideology. If you disagree with it, you can have a question for it respectfully, but never disrespect that man's house. If you disagree with what that man is saying, just don't subscribe to that class or don't listen to that guy. Just move along. Which is what essentially these YouTube channels are, right? It's like how the Bible talks about there are many mansions in the house. Well, that's what these YouTube channels are. It's different houses, different ideologies. You don't have to subscribe to any of them. You don't have to let these ideologies affect your life or dictate your masculinity. Because at the end of the day, every man has their own ideology or belief system. It's just that with me, I play video games. Check out my channel, Kishiani Gaming Nation. You should be able to click it somewhere. Yeah, you should be able to click it somewhere. My name, Kishiani Gaming Nation, it should be somewhere there. You should be able to click it, click on the channel, subscribe to the channel. Look at the content I have there. I'm doing pre-recorded content for right now. This is a live channel that I'm doing this is a live where I get to speak my thoughts and what I think about. But I can only do pre-recorded gaming videos because I don't have the streaming setup yet. I don't have the proper equipment for that yet, like the proper computer, the proper gaming room for that stuff yet. But eventually, I'll work my way up to that to provide you guys better quality content. Um, right now, I'm playing more Battlefield 2042 Season 7. Trying to play out the final season of it. I play Fortnite a lot. Play Halo. Um, the gaming industry is kind of unimpressive to me, especially with Team Microsoft. I kind of wish that uh, Microsoft had better home court games, had better home cultivated games. Like Halo, like 343 failed that. Um, Gears of War that failed. So I kind of wish that Microsoft kind of cultivated their what you call home field games better. I call them home field games. Like I wish they kind of cultivated them better, but hopefully Microsoft will kind of turn it around because Microsoft has purchased a lot of big studios. So we might not see nothing right now, but hopefully in the long run we'll see something better from Microsoft. Like because Microsoft purchasing Bethesda, they're purchasing Bethesda. That's a third party thing, but Microsoft needs to cultivate a Microsoft game, like something like Fable or whatever next Halo come out. Like Halo, if it takes you 10 years to make a Halo game or to get the full content of a Halo game out, then with Halo Infinite, there should be a whole bunch of DLC ideas. Like when I heard that 343 was presented with multiple ideas and none of them were taken into consideration, that's a bad part on 343. You know what I'm saying? Because there are too many books, there are too many different material that 343 can use to make DLC for Halo. So that's my thing. But yeah, so for those of you that came in, click the like, subscribe, check out my channel. This is Kishani Gaming Nation. Yeah, thank you for those of you guys that came and tuned in and clicked the heart and the like and said something to me in the chat. So thank you very much. Donate if you a donation would be appreciated. Share me out. Share me on your Facebook page. Share me out on your Twitter. Make sure the YouTube algorithm picks me up so that I can stream more and give you guys more content so a lot of people can know about me. So all right, with that said, this is Kish Yardy Gaming Nation or the Yardy King signing off.